So another question we get asked about stretching is, well, if stretching generally is less important than movement, when is it a good time to stretch? And the reality of the situation is that stretching we need to think about as in what are we trying to achieve? Because if we're trying to achieve muscle relaxation, if we want to try to achieve the area to feel less tight, then actually stretching generally is not the strategy that we want to deploy. Because generally when a muscle is tight, it's tight because the brain is wanting the muscle to be contracted. Sometimes, rarely, the muscle feels tight because it is shortened. And that's a very, very different thing. So the only time that stretching really comes into its own is when the muscle is physically shortened. But in truth, that's very, very rare. That only really happens over either chronic bed rest or chronic disuse, where you've been laying in bed for a long period of time, you haven't been moving, and actually there's been some constricture of the muscle, and the muscle physically has lost length. And then in that case, absolutely, you need to undertake a program of prolonged stretching. And that stretching program may take many months to physically add more muscle cells to make the muscle longer. So that would be one occasion where stretching absolutely is important. And really the only other time that I can think that stretching really is important over movement is actually at the end of a long distance endurance race. Perhaps a race where you have exceeded the stores of sugar in your muscles, so any event that probably goes over about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And the reason why stretching then is important is you need some type of mechanical aid to flush out all of the metabolites that have been like waste products like lactic acid, and help the lymphatic drainage of those toxins that have been released by the muscle in order that the muscle then can behave normally. But generally speaking, in the main, the only two reasons why, even though it feels like stretching might be the right thing to do because you have some tightness, the only two reasons why you might prefer stretching over movement is if the muscle over a long period of time has actually physically shortened, which again is quite rare, or whether you've just had an incredibly long endurance event and you need to aid lymphatic drainage.